Okay, and for this discussion prompt question, in what way does this poem indicate Dickinson's unwillingness to conform to the Christian religious practices of her day? Do you think this makes her a non-believer? Explain why or why not, and cite the poem for support. So you can look at things, especially in terms of our discussion in the last screencast of what things mean. So you can kind of, hopefully that helps you understand where she was going with the poem, and you can answer this question more fully. Okay, let's look at The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So this was also a lengthy poem, and this one is about war. It's also about honor and what is honorable, and it's the idea of blind, faithful allegiance and obedience, and is that really the best way to go, which many times there are many that believe that that is the right way to go, and that you should always follow your superior officer and leaders, and that they should be held accountable for the decisions that are made. There's arguments you can make on the other side as well. In terms of verification, the poem also makes use of anaphora, in which the same word is repeated at the beginning of several consecutive lines. So if you look at in the third stanza, cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them, here the method creates a sense of unrelenting assault. At each line our eyes meet the word cannon, just as the soldiers meet their flying shells at each turn. Also, this poem is effective largely because of the way it conveys the movement and sound of the charge via a strong repetitive falling meter, half a league, half a league, half a league onward. The plodding pace of the repetition seems to subsume all individual impulsiveness and ponderous collective action. So the meter really has significance in this particular poem. And then also looking at figures of speech. Metaphor, someone had blundered, refers to their military leader who had made a mistake. The Valley of Death refers to a battle that they had no chance of winning or surviving. And then it also talks about they came through the jaws of death, and so it was something that was, unrelenting, something they couldn't win. So there's several metaphors that are in here. And the cultural context has significance as well. The Charge of the Light Brigade recalls a disastrous historical military engagement that took place during the initial phase of the Crimean War, fought between Turkey and Russia in 1854 to 56. Under the command of Lord Raglan, British forces entered in the war in September 1854 to prevent the Russians from obtaining control of the important sea routes through the Dardanelles. Sorry about that, it's kind of late. From the beginning, the war was plagued by a series of misunderstandings and tactical blunders, one of which serves as the subject of this poem. On October 25th, 1854, as the Russians were seizing guns from British soldiers, Lord Raglan sent desperate orders to his light cavalry brigade to fend off the Russians. Finally, one of his orders was acted upon, and the brigade began charging, but in the wrong direction. Over 650 men rushed forward, and well over 100 died within the next few minutes. As a result of the battle, Britain lost possession of the majority of its forward defenses and the only metalled road in the area. So this is what was going on during the time in terms of the cultural context. But you can also look at it and see if it has real-life connections today. So in making real-life connections, this actually reminded me of when I was in high school, and it was for a government class, and we were reading about Lieutenant Calley from the Vietnam War, who was actually charged with murdering innocent South Vietnamese men and women. And you can look on, you can find out more about it on. We can definitely look at it, do a search for him online, William Calley, but he was actually charged for having his men commit what are considered war crimes, but they carried it out even though these South Vietnamese were not armed, and it was in a village. They still carried it out because it was their leader that was telling them to do so. And many of you have a military background, so you certainly can add a lot more of a perspective than I can on this. So hopefully this helps have one more poem to talk about, and then we should be done for this week.